So today's is on circles. Your note spiral is supposed to be a graph paper spiral for a good reason. When we graph, you need to graph on graph paper. So if your spiral is not graph paper, A, you haven't followed directions, but B, you can't do your homework on something that's not graph paper. Really difficult to graph a circle on something that's not graph paper. So what do? Well, on my website, there's a link where you can print off your own graph paper. So that might be something that you might need to do today. All right. So don't try to turn in homework that's on notebook paper. 9-8. Equations of circles. I'm not sure, but I think this is on your Ames reference sheet. I'm looking and I don't see it. You'll have to memorize your own circle formula. It's not that difficult. Nope, you're on your own. Poor babies. All right, so here's what your circle formula looks like. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. This is your equation of a circle. You need to memorize it. I will not give it to you on the test. So here's what this equation tells you. The center point of the circle is HK. Notice that H here is negative and I've written a positive. K here is negative and I've written a positive. So this is not always going to be a minus in here. Like if I had x plus 3, according to this, the center circle is the opposite sign from what you see up here. So if I have x plus 3, what's the opposite of positive 3? So you'd have negative 3 would be your h value for your circle. And they're using h and k because there's already x and y in here. So this is your x and y coordinate in the coordinate grid for that point. But they're calling it h and k so you don't get it confused with this x and that y. What do you think r is? Very good. So the radius is just r. To go from r squared to r, what do you have to do? To go from r squared to r, what do you do? Take the square root. So, for example, just run through a few quick examples. Find the radius and diameter of the circle below. Then write the equation of the circle. So before you can write the equation of the circle, bless you, you've got to gather some information. You have to find the center of the circle, bless you. You have to find the radius of the circle. So since, bless you again, bless you all. And so you're not going to be given something that's incredibly difficult because this is your first exposure to this. When you get into pre-calc, perhaps algebra 3-4, you'll be given something slightly more difficult. Your homework on this will be harder than what I test you on, just to let you know. All right, so you are going to put a point at -2, +4, and you're going to call that D as in dog. You're going to put a point at +2, +4, and you're going to call that N as in Nancy. You're going to put a point at -2, 0, and you're going to call that E as in Edward. And you're going to put a point at -6, positive 4, you're going to call that point P, as in Paul. And then you're going to put a point at negative 2, positive 8. And you're going to call that G, as in goody. And then you're going to make a circle. See this lovely little thing right here? This is a circle maker. Love this thing. I will make a lovely, pretty circle. Better than you can do it by hand. I'm gonna be so jealous, I'm sure. Oh. Hang on. A little hard on, bless you. A little hard on the old spiral notebook there. Isn't that beautiful? That's a lovely circle. Thank you very much. All right, you do your best. I don't really know where you can find these. I don't think Office Max or Staples. Sometimes they carry them. I haven't really seen them there that often. All right, so then this, if I need, in order to find my radius and diameter, well, first of all, what's the radius and how do I find it? This one's not that hard, is it? I certainly wouldn't choose my radius to be there, would you? Going along that line? Because that would be kind of hard to count. So you need to choose a north, south, east, west line. So there, this line right here is your radius. Count it. How many squares? How many? So my radius is 4 units. What's my diameter? 8 units. Mind-blowing, isn't it? And then what's my center? What's your center? Negative 2, 4, right? And so we just found H and K, and isn't this R? Can't you write the equation for your circle? So here's the general equation for your circle, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So we're going to plug into that equation what we know. So I know that my h is negative 2, my k is 4, and my radius is 4. So the reason why I end up with the opposite sign is because don't I add the opposite here? So my final answer is really x plus 2 squared, so the opposite sign of h ends up in my parentheses, plus the y minus 4 doesn't change, squared, and so that's opposite signs, equals, and you must multiply out the 4 to 16. And so there's the equation of your circle. So if we went backwards and I'd given you that equation, you would start with your center, opposite sign, so negative 2, positive 4, and you'd plot your point, and you take the square root of this, 4, and you would start plotting your north, south, east, and west points. So I'd go up 4, to the right 4, down 4, and to the left 4, and I'd attempt to draw a good circle. So if we have to go backwards, that's what you're going to do. So next question. You okay? I can slow down. Are we all good? You almost there, Spring? Yeah. Okay. So the next one, I'm just going to give you the equation and you have to graph it. So example 2. You're going to graph the circle. And I've given you x minus 3 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 16. Now on your homework, if this is not a nice perfect square, like it is, let's say that it's 8 you're going to have to estimate the square root of 8 without the use of a calculator. Which means that you should have done that in Algebra 1 too, but we can, if we get time, we'll talk about it. So I need to take out the information that I need. I need my center and I need my radius. So this is your H and this is your K. So for your center, you need to change the signs. So what's the center of the circle? +3, -2. And then my radius is the square root of 16, which is what? 4. So I need to be able to go out 4 up, down, right, and left. So draw your coordinate grid appropriately to where you can fit it in. I'm going to start with my center, which is 3, -2. And then I'm going to plot my north, south, east, west points. So I have a radius of 4, so I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, plot a point. Down 1, 2, 3, 4, plot a point. To the right 1, 2, 3, 4, plot a point. And to the left 1, 2, 3, 4, plot a point. And then you will attempt as best as you can to draw your circle. Meanwhile, I'm going to use my pretty circle. There we go. So that's all I have to do. That's not so bad, right? Last question is a word problem. So, example 3. Write the equation of the circle that has a diameter of 12 units and whose center is translated (18 units to the left and 7 units down from the origin. All we need from this is the center and the radius, right? So step 1, if the center right here is translated 18 units to the left and 7 units down from the origin is at 0, 0, right? So 18 units to the left, is that your x or your y value? So my x value is what? -18, and my y value? -7. So my center is -18, -7. Then the second thing I have to find is the diameter, right? So it says it has a diameter of 12 units. Oh, I'm sorry. They give me the diameter equals 12 units. So what's my radius? 6 units, half of that, right? Don't I have the information I need to write my equation? So here's my general equation. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So put in here the information that we just found. So for my center, the -18 is my h, and the -7 plus u is my k. So my h goes here, negative 18. My k goes here, negative 7. And my radius of 6 goes in here. Now clean it up. Plus plus, so I get x plus 18 squared, plus, y plus 7 squared equals, and square that, 36. Now, let's talk really briefly about what happens if your radius is not a perfect square. So what if you're trying to figure out where, how far is the square root of 8? Don't pack up. You're going to stop and listen, or you're going to be late. So let's say that your radius turns out to be the square root of 8. Don't simplify that yet. Use the unsimplified version to figure out how far it is. What perfect square is smaller than 8? 2 is not a perfect square. 4. So square root of 4. What perfect square is bigger than 8? 9, right? What's the square root of 4? 2. What's the square root of 9? 3. Isn't the square root of 8 somewhere between 2 and 3? Is it closer to 4 or to 9? 8 is really close to 9. So wouldn't you say that 8 would be like 2.8 or 2.9? So if you were doing a radius for the square root of 8, wouldn't you go almost 3 units up, down, right, and left? So that's what I expect. I do not expect you to break out a calculator and find the decimal equivalency of the square root of 8 because you won't be able to do that on your test. So just be careful. All right, that's it.